Hey everybody, Mike Shoesmith here. I want to talk to you guys about a little project that I've got going on today. And it involves this piece of wood. And I got looking at this piece of wood and I got to thinking, man, this piece of wood looks a lot like I looked 20 years ago when I was saved. When I gave my life to the Lord, my life was a mess. A lot like this piece of wood here. There's pieces missing. It splinters easily. It's rough. It's sharp. It can cut people. It's very rough on the surface. There isn't really anything smooth about it. There's pieces missing off of it here, and it's in bad shape, this piece of wood, and it's frayed at the ends here. It's quite weathered. It's been outside for a while, and it's very rough. And I'm going to make something with it. I'm going to make something really nice with it. And I want to show you guys when it's put in the right hands, what can be done with something like this. Something that's rough, something that's beat up, something that many people would just discard. I'm not going to discard this piece of wood. I'm going to make something that's going to be very useful to someone. Something that this person needs, and something that will beautify this person's home, and something that will help this person a lot. And I want to take video footage of this, show you the before. You can see how it is beat up at the edges. Very, very rough. It's dirty, and much like the way I was when I gave my life to the Lord 20 years ago. I was dirty, rough. I hurt people. I was addicted to this and that. So I'm going to show you guys something here, a valuable lesson. All right, we're back, and yesterday I told you guys that we had a little project to do, and we used that as a teaching moment to show that God can do amazing things if we just come to Him as we are. And what I showed you guys was a piece of a 2x4, and it was about 4 feet long, and it was beat up badly. It had chunks missing out of it, very rough, splintered, in bad shape. And isn't it true that many of us come to the Lord that way? And I want to emphasize this heavily. You do not have to clean yourself up to come to the Lord. You just come to Him as you are, and He will love you. He will not judge you. He knows the state you're in anyway. Come to Him and give Him your life. And He will take that broken, beaten, battered, bruised, splintered, ugly, rough you, and He will change you. He will begin working on you. As you can see from the various tools that I used on that piece of wood, God will use His tools on you, and He will teach you. He will show you the truth. Jesus said that you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. So He will begin working on you a little bit at a time. When you first get saved, there's a bit of a honeymoon period there, but eventually God begins working on you, taking away that which does not belong, sanding down the rough areas and making them smooth. And eventually, over time, you will begin to see that sinful, nasty, rough, dirty, ugly you is nothing but a blip in your rearview mirror, that you are changed. You know, hopefully people who know me from 20 years ago when I was still a foul-mouthed, bratty atheist, people who knew me back then, they come to me today and they say, you are definitely not that same person. many aspects of me has changed, and God is making a new person. He's making a new person. Spiritually speaking, we already are made new. When we're born again and saved, we are a new creature in Christ. But eventually, the honeymoon stage is over, and God begins working on you a little at a time here, a little at a time there. That's why we shouldn't judge people who, for example, are smokers. Because if you have a friend who has a gun pointed at their head with one hand and smoking a cigarette with the other, which would you tell them to drop? The gun or the cigarette? Well, the gun, of course. So when we see other believers, smoking cigarettes, Jesus said, nothing that goes in your mouth can defile you. It's what comes out of your mouth. It's your words that make you unacceptable. We're judged by our words. Our words guide our life. Our words are the prophets of our soul. Our future depends on on a great deal on what we say. But Jesus did say that we're not condemned for what we eat or drink or even what we smoke. He said nothing that goes in your mouth can defile you. So we got to be careful when we look at people who smoke and whatnot, because God may be working in areas of their lives that require more attention at this moment in their life rather than the smoking or the outward things. So let's be careful how we judge people for what they're doing, etc. Because the person who's smoking may be planning on going home and killing themselves. You just don't know. So let's be careful in that area. But just know that, when I first got saved, I was a smoker and I wanted to quit. I couldn't quit, but God was working out things in my life. And it took him 10 years for me to eventually, in fact, it was a miraculous deliverance from cigarettes in a church service. My testimony's out there on the internet somewhere on that regard. But I think it might be in my book, Fast Track to Freedom, which is available online for free. You can read my book, Fast Track to Freedom. It's a ppsimmons resource. But most of that book is my testimony on fasting and how people have used that to quit all manner of addictions. And that's a tool. That's a tool that God will use in your life to work away at you, just like some of the tools I used to work on this piece of wood here. And this piece of wood, you would never know it, but this is the wood that I held up yesterday in front of the camera. This is that same 2x4. And this is going to come to some great use for someone. In fact, it's my mother-in-law. And she is an elderly lady, and she needs help getting around in her house. And this is a handrail that she will use to get up and down the stairs from the main floor to the basement. And it's not very far, but it's far enough where she needs assistance getting up and down the stairs. And the handrail is exactly what she needs to make that work. Her hands, you can see that I smoothed it down. We put some nice finish on it, and it's all smooth. And we put like a groove in here where she can hang on as she's walking down the stairs. And of course, it'll be like this, and she'll be hanging on like this. So, she'll be walking. You can see the practicality of it. She'll be walking down like that, and it's very useful to her. And this piece of wood, which you can see if you look in the video from yesterday, you can see at the beginning of this video, which we recorded yesterday, you can see how this piece of wood was frayed at the ends, dirty. It was rough. Chunks were missing out of it. And actually, I was going to put that piece of wood in the burn pile. And when it came to my attention that my mother-in-law needed this attached to her wall, I thought, well, what a great time to use that piece of wood both as a blessing to her and as an example to you guys on what salvation looks like, how God can turn a life into something beautiful and useful for the kingdom, for your friends and family, and ultimately for yourself. Because God is in the restoration business, and he wants to bring you, make you new, repurpose you to a beautiful and glorious life. And this piece of wood, which was destined for the burn pile, you guys see the metaphor there, the analogy, which was destined for the burn pile, is now going to be put to use in someone's home to beautify it and to help the person navigate throughout the house. And so anyway, my name is Mike Shoesmith, and just as the song goes, long lay the world in sin and error pining. Then he appeared, and the soul felt its worth. Give your life to Jesus today. He will give you value, purpose, and worth. And he will turn your life around and give you a new and glorious future. My name is Mike Shoesmith. Thanks for watching.